It's my turn now. It's my turn now. Move that bottle.
What's that bottle there?
Yeah. Hey guys, we're back again with another ranking video. This time it's the Spider-Man movies. So we're just going to do the live action movies. So that's, 8 movies?
Because we're fake fans.
Because we're fake fans, yes. Well, that's just me. I think these guys have both seen the Spider-Verse films. I've only seen the first one, so don't come at me.
You've had 3 years.
I know. So Anthony, if you'd like to start us off.
I will. Unlike our Star Wars ranking movies, I do have a bit of love for all of the Spider-Man films. So yeah, even the lowest one, even though it's my least favourite, I still could sit down and enjoy watching it. But on that note, my bottom of the bunch is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. What I've said about this film, so great visuals. That shot of him, you know, when he's diving down off the building and you see like the ripples in his suit from the wind and things like that, absolutely brilliant, absolutely smashing. The fight that he has with Electro looks incredible. Even the visual symbolism of the web reaching for Gwen when she's falling, that's all fantastic stuff. In fact, I've even written down here, actually it looks better than the current Spider-Man films that are coming out. Visually it's so much better somehow than films that are coming out 12 plus years later. Very odd phenomenon, don't quite know how that's happening. One of the best spider suits in the whole of the canon. Gwen's death scene, I already mentioned that, spoilers. Gwen's death scene is easily, I think, the best scene in the film, and it fulfills a nice little bit of foreshadowing from the first Andrew film, where her dad is clearly very concerned about the life that she may have or not have as a result of associating with Spider-Man. I did say it's far too cluttered as a film. There's too much happening with too little justification for it happening, and too little depth to the characters. Everything's very surface level on the film, apart from Gwen's death scene. And actually one of the best scenes that I've seen from that movie is a deleted scene. One of the best scenes that adds a bit of character and a bit of depth to Peter's story with his father is cut from the movie. Very strange bit of editing there. But yeah, that's my least favourite, but I can still find things to enjoy in it.
So thankfully this one's going to be a bit less kind of fiery than the Star Wars rankings, so I've also got Amazing Spider-Man 2 at number 8 for me. Again, it's a bit kind of cluttered, there's a lot going on, too many subplots, too many villains.
Yeah.
They try to set up a Sinister Six film and that never materialised, so it does feel a bit kind of like wasted potential. The fact that they cast Chris Cooper as Norman Osborn, which is a great choice, he's a fantastic actor, and they use him for one scene and that's the last you see of him, just to basically die of that illness that Harry has. And again, I think Harry his relationship with Peter isn't really developed enough. It kind of feels like it's relying on, like past or like prior knowledge with the rest of the films and, comic fans and stuff like that. So, and I feel like the whole thing with having too much going on, a lot of people give Spider-Man 3 flack for that sort of thing, and I feel like this film kind of repeats the error that film made as well. So
yeah.
Yep, so that's
just not as enjoyable.
Yeah, for me, not as entertaining. Yeah, and I like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but I feel like the writing does kind of let him down a little bit. So yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I agree with both of those guys. My last pick is also Amazing Spider-Man 2. Didn't do it for me. And Electro's a decent enough villain on paper, but like Anthony said, he's shallow as a puddle, like the rest of the characters in this, for the most part. Comes across as having zero motivations. The New Goblin's also got a silly character, throwing a hissy fit over Spider-Man not giving him his blood. Like, I know it's supposed to be like he's an entitled kid, but it really doesn't come off as a compelling thing to watch. Yeah, there's no depth to it. And I think that's another thing. His emotions don't really come through as much because Harry isn't in the first film. I think that would have made a big difference if he actually had been carried over from the first one.
Yeah.
It's like he shows up here and then he's bad, and then it seems so shallow. There's no weight to it. Gwen's death is a really sad scene, and Andrew really sells it. Like, that's such a great performance, but it's undercut by the fact that this is the end of his movies. And when it ends, it tries to make it optimistic and that he's going to keep going. But it's so recent that it can't make it sweet enough to be bittersweet. It leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. And it would have been maybe not saved, but it was a better film, like you say, if that deleted scene had remained in. But it didn't. And for that reason, it's firmly last place for me. So
It's interesting that because it's like everybody seems to somehow know about that deleted scene.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a good scene.
in the cemetery.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Yeah, bizarre.
Mm.
Yeah, but no, I agree with these guys. Interesting to see that we've all got the same bottom rung pick. But as I say, I'm sure the guys agree. There's still things to enjoy about the movie. My next one, I think I'm already going to go controversial here.
Ooh.
My next to last is No Way Home.
What?
Oh.
Yep. No Way Home. What I'm going to say, it was an incredible cinema experience. I think it might be my favourite experience in the cinema. It's the first and only time I think that I've ever experienced people like cheering and whooping and hollering in a cinema, which is apparently like used to be commonplace back in the day, but that's the only time in my whole life, and I was 28 when that film came out. That's the first and only time that has ever happened, and it was wonderful. Beyond that, beyond the fact that it's a great cinema experience, I find it to be quite shallow. Beyond that, anything surface level, it is really like that dopamine hit when you see old villains and the other versions of Spider-Man that we knew and we loved. But there are so many like elements of the main story in the film that are built around fan service or callbacks rather than just good storytelling. There is some good storytelling in there. There's Aunt May's death is very moving, and is certainly progressing Tom's version of Spider-Man as a character. But I find that's very few and far between in this film. It's look at this shiny thing and remember the thing that you loved. And it's almost like they knew it was going to be a cinema experience, and there's these strange moments where it's like when Andrew jumps through the portal, where it's like he is literally it's like a sitcom. It's like he's waiting for the response of the audience before he then introduces himself. He literally jumps through the portal and goes and then introduces himself. It's really bizarre when you watch it in a non-cinema, like in a home experience. It's quite a bizarre watch, I think. There's a beautiful scene where Andrew's Spider-Man saves MJ, and it's the resolution to the fact that he wasn't able to save Gwen, and he learned from that mistake. But I almost feel like we shouldn't need that to be resolved, because the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which, as you say, maybe it's too soon, the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was us being shown as an audience that he is going to rise above that tragedy and move forward. And it's like we learned that he never did. And I guess there is realism to that. It's hard to move on from grief. You never quite do. But the messages are muddled between the two films. It's like he ended up needing resolution when we should have already had it. But yeah, for all those reasons, it is my second to bottom pick. It was an incredible experience seeing it, but it was an experience rather than a movie-going enjoyment.
I'd say that's fair.
Thank you.
I would not. Okay.
It might be a bit of a hot take, but I could totally.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from though. Yeah, there are moments
Thank you.
where I'm definitely like, yeah, that was definitely fan service. Yeah, that was definitely for a cinema audience.
Yeah, similar to The Force Awakens in that regard.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So number 7 for me, I'm going to go with Amazing Spider-Man 1. They're kind of neck and neck for me. Again, I love Andrew Garfield in the role, but I feel like his version of Spider-Man's way too confident before he gets his powers.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't really read like Peter Parker to me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there is still great action scenes, great special effects. There's a lot to enjoy about this one, but they are kind of. I do have the same kind of issues with both of the Amazing Spider-Man films for me. So that's number 7.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, I can feel our list's going to diverge quite a little bit. I thought we were going to have like either all the same picks or all different, and I think it's going to be all different because my next pick, this one kind of surprises me for it being so low. It's Spider-Man 3. So yeah, all right. I can put this film on. I can enjoy this film. I can like laugh at it, but it's hard to talk about this film without mentioning obvious studio interference. It's not the film that Sam Raimi wanted to make. You can tell like someone like Venom has no place in this movie. Like he said in his own words, like he didn't care for or understand that character, and you can totally tell. I don't like even Venom or Eddie Brock's character in this movie. I think it's so bad. I don't like Gwen Stacy's character in this film either. I think it's a mismatch. Yeah, it's really tonally bipolar, and it might be the point because he's going through a bit of a crisis, and yeah. But I think his crisis in the previous film was better explored and it's just better to watch. Yeah, letting the bad guy go at the end because, like love or something. Yeah, Eddie asking God to kill Peter is weird. And I don't, and I know that he's going through a rough patch, but having a film where your main character physically hits his girlfriend in that film is quite a rough thing to watch for a kid's superhero movie. It just takes it to a dark place.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
It doesn't quite resolve in a way that I would like it to. It ends on quite a bittersweet note again. And that's the end of his standalone movies, So that's why it's second last for me.
Nice. I do get Brady coming.
And I do enjoy watching the film, but just other films are better films, in my opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. Right, my next one here. I'm kind of feeling bad for Tom Holland here. I've got Far From Home as my next pick. I will say it's a very, very fun film to watch. I think it's a really good just bit of popcorn entertainment, which I think was what was needed. It suffered from being one of the first kind of post-Endgame films. I think any film that Marvel had released at that point was going to struggle on the back of 10 years of, a decade of world building and things like that. And then it's almost like, okay, we now need to start building momentum towards something else. And as far as I'm aware, I think Far From Home was one of the first. There was a few kind of the shows had come out.
Yeah, Far From Home was the next film after Endgame.
Yeah, it was the next kind of major film after Endgame. But yeah, they made the best of that by taking it down to kind of like a grassroots. It's a Peter Parker story in that one. What I do really enjoy is Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Mysterio. I think he's absolutely brilliant in that role, and he plays both sides of the coin really, really well. You actually, before the twist comes in, you kind of believe him as this Avenger of another world, and then there's that awesome flip that he does when he gets the glasses.
It's so hard.
I think that is such a good scene. What kind of takes me out of the experience a little bit, not entirely, the logistics of what Mysterio's capabilities actually are, I think are slightly muddled and questionable. It's like, right, what is the extent of what this thing can do? I don't think that's ever completely defined.
Yeah.
In terms of the level of illusion versus reality. So that alone, that's really my only main gripe about the film. Yeah, I just have other films higher on a pure enjoyment basis. But I really don't have all that much to complain about with Far From Home. It's just a good, kind of solid, grassroots Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
So number 6 for me, I'm actually going to go with Spider-Man 3, and again, the same sort of things that Luce was saying, that there is a bit too much going on, a lot of studio interference, particularly with Venom. As a big Venom fan, it was really exciting to see him in a film when it first came out, but it was very much like, it felt like he got shortchanged. He was in it for maybe 20 minutes at most, and most of the time he was peeling his face back as well, so you barely saw the seatbelt. So
this way, get my face down.
That's lame.
But yeah, and then the whole thing with Peter going emo or going Billy Maguire.
Get the fuck out of the way! I can't see!
I feel like it's not as big a deal as it's made out to be. I mean, it's only like a handful of scenes, but it is funny. Like, it does make me laugh every time I see it. So
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
You want forgiveness? Get religion.
It is a very memeable movie, yeah.
It is. It's up there with Revenge of the Sith
Yes.
in terms of memeable.
I'd say even
moments.
higher, yeah.
Yeah.
It is very memeable.
Very much
They
like
love me.
one of the films that defines the mid-2000s in that regard. So, and it was on TV not too long ago, and I went back and revisited it just recently, and again I still really enjoy watching this one. So yeah, that's number 6.
How'd that get in there?
Okay, my next pick is the original Amazing Spider-Man film. So it's a bit of a step up in quality for me here. Again, it feels a little bit shallow. It feels like a retread of the Tobey movies, but it's like we're telling the same origin story, but it's like the movie has to justify itself. So changes things that don't need change, that are not as good this time around. Like Uncle Ben basically saying everything, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's like, it's so obvious.
It's like when you're trying to paraphrase something in an essay at school.
It's like asking ChatGPT. It's like, no, say it in a different way. Yeah.
More different.
More different. Yeah, no, but more human sounding. Yeah.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
The Lizard's an interesting character, but they don't do enough with him. I think he would have been a more interesting person who was an ally that flipped back and forth from someone he could trust to someone he wasn't sure about.
Like a Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, instead of making him just like a clear, like, no, he's the bad guy and he wants to kill you and make everyone like him. Like, it made it way too black and white. Yeah, so I've not really got much to say in that movie. It's kind of just like I enjoy these films from here on out. It's just the other films do it better.
Yep.
So
That's kind of where I am. Like at this point, I think they rank just in level of enjoyment almost.
yeah,
Apart from this one, because I enjoy this next film more than films that are higher, but I have to acknowledge its flaws. This next one for me, coming right in the back of Ross, is Spider-Man 3. Very, very goofy, this film. But,
no shit.
but I feel like that is almost in keeping with the tone of that trilogy. It's a goofy bunch of films in general,
yeah.
but the third one does kind of amp it up a little bit in terms of how goofy it is. As the guys have said, this third film, Spider-Man 3, would have benefited hugely from being streamlined. But as you say, there was a lot of interference to push for more characters. There should have been one main villain. It's too much in 2.5 hour film to have Goblin Jr., Sandman and Venom. Venom as a character, whether Sam Raimi likes Venom as a character or not, Venom demands his own movie. And I don't mean a Venom movie, I mean a Spider-Man movie where Venom is the main villain.
Yeah.
He's a complex enough entity that he needs his own film to be the only villain in the film. Whereas as Spider-Man 3 stands, because of how much they try to cram into one film, it's a bit of a mess. It's a glorious mess, but it is a mess nonetheless. I've actually come to really appreciate Emo Peter. For the reason is, I think it's actually a representation of what a really geeky Peter Parker
Becco.
thinks is cool.
Yeah.
But it's really not. Like, even in the movie, it's not. Like, it's what he thinks cool is, but he's completely wide of the mark.
Yeah.
And I actually, unlike Lewis, I quite enjoy the uncertainty of the resolution at the end. We don't really know at the end if things work out with Peter and MJ. I do think we get quite a bittersweet but good conclusion to Peter and Harry's relationship. They kind of finally find common ground, and then Harry dies.
I'll just interject there for a second. My issue with the resolution, it's in keeping with the other films, but Spider-Man 1 ends bittersweet. It's like Mary Jane wants to be with him, but he can't be. The second one ends bittersweet because she knows who he is, but he's got to still be Spider-Man and put his relationship second. And the third one, I was like, you deserve a final...
Yes, but I think what you've just said, but I think it works. Spider-Man is always supposed to be...
responsibility.
Responsibility, but he's... The whole thing of Peter Parker is that he is always getting beat down, and he will come back from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the for me.
Fair, yeah.
That's what Spider-Man is supposed to be. It's like he doesn't get it easy. It's just
it makes him relatable.
yeah, it's just not on the cards for him to have it easy. It's always going to be hard for him, but he makes the choice. As we talk about quite often with our heroes, he makes the choice to show up and to be Spider-Man. That's what the second film, is all about. He makes that choice. Yeah, it's a responsibility, but he also has to choose to accept that responsibility.
So number 5 for me is going to be Far From Home, which again, you guys have already kind of mentioned a lot of the best things about that. Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, I think, is probably the biggest standout for me. The big thing that really brings this one down a little bit is the first half hour. I feel like a lot of the teen romance and teen comedy, I'm just kind of waiting for it to be over with. It doesn't really click with me.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Ned Leeds as a character. I don't particularly, like, compared to his relationship with Harry in the original films and stuff like that, I just don't find it as engaging. But when this film does get going, it is absolutely fantastic. And again, Tom Holland proving that he is worthy of taking up the mantle of Spider-Man in this one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Man Expect, again, maybe a bit controversial, but Man Expect's Homecoming. My issues with this film are largely around basically being Spider-Boy, basically being overshadowed by Iron Man. I think it's almost like they felt like they had to have like someone like steering the ship to like make sure, no, like, trust me guys, like this is going to be a good film. Like kind of like outside of the movie it feels like that a little bit, and inside the movie it's also the same. It just feels like the mentorship, showing up to help him when he needs it. Even the suit, it's like Spider-Man with like stabilizers on. I don't know, like the character deserves more than that. He deserves to be... I know the whole point of the film is that he can go off and do it on his own, but for so much of the runtime, it's like he's being like, no, you're almost there. Like, I think he deserves a bit more respect than that as a character. Yeah, so Iron Boy Jr. I'm not digging that. It belittles his character. After we see him in Civil War, I'm like, I feel like he should be a bit higher, not being knocked back down a bit. to be honest, a bit of a side note, but I think they did the same thing with Black Panther. I think they knock him down for his own standalone movie.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. We're not talking about the MCU in general now, we're talking about Spider-Man. But I have a big problem with the Black Panther movie because of that. He comes in, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. He comes in Civil War fully formed.
Yeah.
And
Regress his character.
Yeah, they completely regress him in Black Panther. I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all I have to say about Homecoming. So yeah, good film, but they really bring it down with the Iron Boy Jr. stuff and all that. And I just feel like, I'm not too taken by Ned Leeds or really any of the other characters. Michael Keaton's great. Yeah, that's really all I've got to say about it.
I'm right behind you in that one. Homecoming is my next pick as well. I do think it's a really good opening to Tom Holland's solo Spider-Man career, because obviously we saw him in Civil War, but that was a glorified cameo, really. While Tom, I would actually probably say, is my least favourite of the three Spider-Mans that we've had, Spider-People, I think he does a good job in balancing Peter Parker and Spider-Man in this film. Again, I totally get where Lewis is coming from in terms of having Iron Man there holding his hand, but I kind of get that they were almost backed into a corner, and I think they actually do quite a good job of like weaving Spider-Man into the bigger fabric of the MCU, which in 2017 I think was really kind of at the peak of its powers and relevance. So I think they almost had to, they couldn't really get away with not having a big player in the MCU in that film, even though it might have benefited Tom Holland as Spider-Man to just have his own standalone film. I feel like they almost had to use his first few forays as bring him into the tapestry of the MCU at the time. I do think you kind of touched on it at the end there as well there, Lewis. I think that Michael Keaton is the best part of this film by a long shot. He plays a brilliant villain in Vulture, and he manages to do that brilliant stroke of genius that good villains can do, where there's a balance, a villain whose motivations you can understand and you can follow it even if you don't necessarily condone how they're going about doing it. And again, like Lewis as well, I've never been a fan of Tom Holland's supporting cast of friends. They just don't do it for me. That's both Ned and his MJ. There's something missing for me just in that dynamic there. Just not for me, but I think a very good opening gambit for Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Funnily enough, Homecoming's number 4 for me, so that all kind of lines up there. It's a really good reintroduction, I would say, without retelling the origin story, the whole getting bit by the spider and all that. We get it at this point with this one. So the biggest positive, I would say, is the hero-villain dynamic with Vulture. I think Michael Keaton's outstanding in the film, as you say.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it is basically Spider-Man versus Batman kind of probably has something to do with that as well. I think it's great to see them on screen, and Michael Keaton does play a really good sympathetic villain. The amount of usage of Iron Man, I think he's used just enough, as Anthony mentioned. It's a good kind of like stepping stone for Tom Holland. I do get the whole thing with like Iron Man Jr. basically, but
Iron Boy.
Yeah, it's kind of just for this one, and then maybe a little bit Infinity War as well. But
because I just feel like you had enough of that in the actual Avengers films and Civil War as well, that I wanted him to let him kind of let loose in his own film. But I get where you're coming from. He isn't overused in it, but I think it would have been nice personally to have him doing his own thing in it.
Yeah.
Maybe like a cameo, or seeing him at the end being like, good job kind of thing. Yeah.
I get that.
Okay, so I kind of didn't expect this one to be above Homecoming, but my next pick's actually Far From Home. So it is kind of one of those films. It's definitely a cinema film. Like I actually had a great cinema experience going to see this, and Jake Gyllenhaal's a great Mysterio in this film. You can't help but like him at the start of the film, even though you know Mysterio is a villain. You're like, there's something about it. It's like maybe they're going to play it a bit different because he's genuinely likable.
That's a good illusionist.
Exactly. And then there's that twist where it's like, wow, rather than just Jake Gyllenhaal, this character's a good actor. Yeah, he was great in the film. I like the fact that Peter's actually doing his kind of first steps into going out on his own, like doing his own thing. Yeah, he's still got help, but it's really him taking on things, and you believe that he's not got anybody else. An issue I have with this film, though, same as Homecoming actually, to an extent, Peter's still not getting like a villain to himself. Like Mysterio's real villain in this is Tony Stark. He just happens to be dead by this point. Even in Homecoming, it's like the Vulture. His problems with Tony Stark and the Avengers. Like Spider-Man's not really even an Avenger yet, so he just keeps inheriting villains. You can lead that back through Avengers and Civil War, you know. So again, it's a bit of an issue I have with that. But yeah, overall, this film is an enjoyable watch. It's visually stunning. I do like all the kind of set pieces. Like, it's a bit of an excuse to have like nice visuals, but going around Europe's a nice. It's always nice to see. You know, they go to, like Prague and London and everything. But yeah, I think again, there's other films that just do better than this. But yeah, this is a fun watch. It's not too high stakes. It's not too intense. It's just a fun Spider-Man watch. Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. Right, are we top three?
Top three,
yeah,
yeah.
cool. Right, my pick for third from the top is, surprisingly to me, is The Amazing Spider-Man. Up until recently, I think this would have been much lower. I've actually come to appreciate this film a lot more in more recent years. It was the first time asking us as an audience that had grown up with Tobey Maguire to accept a new face in the role of Spider-Man. Initially, I couldn't get past cool Peter Parker. I really didn't like it. But I've come to appreciate Andrew Garfield in both roles. And I like how he does portray Peter as intelligent and charismatic, but like more as like an outsider than necessarily a standard nerd. His portrayal of Spider-Man is, I think, nigh on perfect in this film. He portrays so well like the sass and the humour. And it's almost like, I've written here, it's almost like a proto-Deadpool attitude that he's got, but grounded in the reality of that world. I think it's actually kind of ahead of its time when I watch it back now, his portrayal of Spider-Man. I think the Lizard, I think, is a very good villain. I do think, kind of the same as Lewis, that there could have been a bit more depth to the Lizard and how he's portrayed in the film. As you say, it's very much, he's initially an ally, then he's a villain and he wants to kill Peter. I think there could have been kind of like I think I'd said about like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, where maybe he comes back and then dips again, and then comes back and dips again. That could have been a really cool ongoing thing, maybe even throughout different films. He doesn't necessarily need to be completely thwarted in this film. That could have been a recurring thing. But I do think that he's portrayed very well. And I love that there's a grit and there's a brutality to the fight scenes in that film, and I think it's one of the only films where you actually see Spider-Man fighting like a spider. You actually see him in the school fight kind of crawling over and around the Lizard. I think that's really, really well done, and using his web kind of as a spider does when he's down in the sewers. He uses the web as like a sensor, not just for catching prey. It's almost like a defense mechanism as well. I really, really like that I think Andrew comes the closest to actually being a Spider-Man. And I do think that there's very good chemistry between Peter and Gwen in this film as well. It's a very believable romance. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I find it a very enjoyable experience, and I think it's so high because of the amount that I've come to appreciate it compared to where I started with it.
So number 3 for me, this one hits me to my core. This is the original Spider-Man from 2002. One of the films that defines my childhood, watching the VHS over and over again back in the day. Yep. Even going back and watching it recently, I think it still holds up. I don't think it's really dated in any kind of way. And I think Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin's probably the most menacing villain in the entire series, and very much like Batman with the Joker, the same sort of relationship between the two of them. And to me, it's the biggest or the most faithful adaptation of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's original comic. Like, if you go back and read Amazing Fantasy 15 or the first couple issues of the 60s comic, it's like basically lifted from the pages of that, with adding the modern sheen to it and the kind of a little bit more grittiness to it. And as you said about the fight between Peter and Lizard and Amazing Spider-Man 1 being a bit kind of grittier, I feel like the final fight in this film, it's very much like, this doesn't feel like a kid's film. It feels very much like Spider-Man is like in danger of dying in this
getting
fight.
beaten to death.
It's quite traumatizing for younger audiences. But it didn't really bug me too much as a kid, because it was very much like, you're like, he's still going to win. He's still he was going to pull out in the end. But so that's number 3 for me.
Nice. Okay, I feel like this is controversial putting this even this high, because I think most people probably put this as their favourite film, but I've actually got to put Spider-Man 2 here. For a long time I wasn't really too taken by this film, like at all. Like, it wouldn't have even come as high as number 3. And then at times I've put it higher, and then like upon reflection I'm like, right, it's somewhere in between. So, biggest reason I'm not too keen on this film is because a lot of the characters I just don't find very likeable in this film. I find MJ insufferable in this movie. I find Harry insufferable in this movie. I don't particularly enjoy Doc Ock as a villain either. These are like, fictional films, they're like basically fantasy. But really, Doc Ock's just a human plugged into really smart arms. Peter should be able to punch his face in. Like, I don't know. But, right, that aside though, I don't particularly enjoy him as a character. I find him very, very 2D as a villain. I don't think he's got a lot of depth to him. I like his resolution at the end, but I'm like, I feel like that could have happened at any point in the film, It's like there's no big thing that happens really that changes things. He just talks to him a little bit and then it's like, oh,
He's right.
Yeah, so I found it quite a weak resolution. I do like his kind of existential crisis that Peter has in the film where he's, not sure if he wants to be Spider-Man anymore and like if he really wants to give up everything in his own life. I really love the conversation he has with Aunt May as well. That's like the heart of this movie, I believe. Like that entire scene. And she knows, she really knows, and that scene will tell you. Yeah, I like all the train scene as well when he stops the train. That's iconic. But yeah, there's just certain parts of the film that I don't enjoy. Like I say, I really don't like Harry's part. I don't like that MJ keeps giving Peter shit for, not being there. It's like, he's fucking busy.
Sorry your uncle died and that you're depressed and that you're poor. And
I'm like, even without the Spider-Man stuff, she's giving him shit for like, life happens, things happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like her attitude in this. I don't like Harry's attitude in this. I feel bad for Peter in this film, to be honest, because his fucking friends are so shitty. Even when Harry doesn't know that he's Spider-Man, he's giving him crap for making a living off of, I'm like, he's fucking poor.
Yeah.
Like, give him a break.
Or give him money, you rich bastard.
Or give him money. Yeah. Or, slapping him at the fucking, where is it they're at?
Gala or whatever, yeah.
Slapping him at the gala. Yeah, you just get hit when he's down, and that is so part of his character, I know. But yeah, it's a good film. It's high up. It's just there's things about this film that really irk me that don't seem to irk anybody else. So anyway, that's why it's number 3.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put it as my number 2, Spider-Man 2, funnily enough. I happen to think it's an absolutely incredible film, Spider-Man 2. I think it's kind of similar in scope and sense to the first Star Wars and then The Empire Strikes Back. Like, this film, much like The Empire Strikes Back, is just relentless. It's relentlessly hard on Peter. He just has like a few weeks of like the worst time of his life, quite clearly. And that the night that Lewis is talking about when he's at the gala, and it's like, first it's just a wee entree that he doesn't get. Then Harry's being a bit funny with him and getting a bit pushy. Then MJ tells him to piss off. Then he can't get a drink. Then Harry comes and slaps him. Then MJ's getting married.
Yeah.
And he has to take the picture of the engagement. It's so
It's ironically comical.
Yes, it's almost comically terrible. I was watching it recently with my partner, and she turns around and she goes, "He's having a really bad night." And I was like, "Yeah, he is." But I think beyond the humour, I do think it does a really good job in showing someone in crisis. And obviously it has his web block and things like that. But I think that's one of the best examples put to film of someone having to work their way through a crisis. There's nobody coming to save them. There's no way of shirking that responsibility. He made that choice in the first film, and now he has to live with the consequences of that choice. And as much as he might want to, he can't just let it go now that he's committed to that in that first film, and maybe he was going into it with not all the preparation mentally to be like, oh my god, this is maybe a lifelong thing. He's in it now, and there's no way for him to get past what he needs to do. He's made that commitment, and he needs to honour that. And, because he's Peter Parker, even though he's getting shit on this whole film, he steps up when he needs to. It's a funny scene, but it's like, he has the bravery to be like, I need to get my powers back one way or another. I need to be Spider-Man. Goes ahead and freaking jumps off a building, not knowing what's going to happen. But it's that faith. He's got that faith and that strength of character that, again, goes beyond what he is able to do physically. Of course, he is essentially a mutant, I think we would call him, really. Being Spider-Man, when he's got his powers, when he's at full capacity, he's incredibly strong, durable. But he strips all that away, and he's still Spider-Man. He's still, what actually makes him Spider-Man is what's inside of him. I do quite like the villain in this one. I think he's quite a sympathetic villain at points. But again, he's a flawed human being. He's defeated by his own hubris initially. He's sure that he hasn't miscalculated. He's sure that he hasn't. But he must have, because his bloody wife died as a result of the error. But yeah, I think it's an excellent film. I think it's a great Spider-Man story. It's not necessarily needing to build to anything. Yeah, it builds from the first film, but if the series had ended there, cool. I think that's one of the ultimate portrayals of Spider-Man.
So number 2 is actually going to be Spider-Man 2 for me as well. So again,
In good company.
Yeah, you've touched on a lot of the stuff I would have brought up there. So it's a really good adaptation of the No More storyline from the comics. The train scene is one of the best action scenes ever filmed in any superhero film, I would say. And a big positive for me is I think it's the best use of J. Jonah Jameson in the entire series.
Yes.
And J.K. Simmons being absolutely perfect casting in all of them. And I think he's probably at his funniest in this one.
I was actually laughing out loud when I watched it recently. I was actually giggling away at J. Jonah.
The scene where he thinks, maybe Spider-Man was a hero the whole time, and then as soon as that suit gets taken away, he was a thief and criminal. It's like back to his old ways.
It's the Mr. Jameson, your wife said she's lost the checkbook. Thanks for the good news. It's so good. He's so good.
There's a reason that they brought him back when they had another universe. It was still him. So
it can only be him.
Yeah. Just persists across universes.
Yeah, and one of the greatest memes of all time. You're serious? That.
Pay you for what? Just standing there.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got for Spider-Man 2. It's one of those films that I can't really, add too much to because everybody knows how fantastic it is. So.
Absolutely.
Fair enough, yeah. Okay, number 2 for me. Again, this is higher than I thought it would be. No Way Home. Is it fan servicey? 100,000,000% yes. Is it what the fans wanted? Also yes. Everyone knew they were going to bring all these characters back. Everyone knew it, and everyone wanted it as well. I remember going into the cinema, just anticipating that happening, even though they kept it well under wraps. And yeah, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Totally fan servicey, 100%, right? But I think it finally gave Tom something to work with. It finally gave his character something, like a sacrifice to make. And he loses everything in this film. And that's the adversity he needed. Like in the Tobey trilogy, he's getting kicked when he's down all the time. In Tom's one, he's always getting help and he's always coming out on top eventually. Whereas this one, he's finally getting some challenges that he can't beat, that he can't overcome. And the fact he has to give up his friends, anyone really knowing him, the fact that his aunt has to die in it, he has nothing at the end of it. And it's a great reset. It's the reset that the character needed. It's where he needs to be for that character to have his true story told.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm actually still looking forward to his future films. Because I think that is the type of character that Peter Parker should be. He should be someone that doesn't feel like he has anyone,
Ground level.
Ground level, yeah. Yeah, they're probably gonna reunite again, but for now, this is what he needs as a character. But yeah, No Way Home, it's stunning to watch. There's cameos for days. I would say the Green Goblin coming back is just great. I love his character. And I think having him actually go out his way to save not just other good people, but also his villains, says a lot about Spider-Man as a character as well. He'll put himself in harm's way to save even his biggest foes. Yeah, I've not got much to say about the film. It gave me everything I wanted it to give me. Tobey and Andrew coming back, it was everything that it should have been. And I love that they did that. I love that they gave Andrew some kind of redemption. I know that he kind of didn't need that as such, but I think just the fact that his character didn't get a third film, just the fact he didn't get a third film when he really deserved one, that was it. Yeah. So that's really all I have to say about No Way Home. Yeah.
Nice. The funny thing is, I don't disagree with anything you've said, and yet for some reason it's so much lower on my list.
Yeah.
There you go, there's the beauty of individuality. Right, we're at number 1 now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay. My best Spider-Man film, the original Spider-Man film. I know that I just said when I was talking about Spider-Man 2 that it was kind of like Star Wars, the original, A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, but just in this particular case, I have such a soft spot for the original Spider-Man. Whether Spider-Man 2 is technically a better film, I don't think you can get away from the fact that the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I know we'd had the X-Men and things like that, but this essentially set the blueprint for the MCU. and how to introduce superheroes. It does it all so perfectly with precision. The origin story of a superhero, I don't think it could be done better than it is done in this film. It's got everything. It's got, you know, the starting as a weak little guy. He gets bitten by the spider and he wakes up and boom, he's a superhero. And it's like, would a lesser person treat those powers with such respect? And, you know, we're teased that maybe he won't be treating his powers with respect. You know, he wants to go and get the money from the wrestling match so he can get the car to impress Mary Jane. And, you know, he wants to just ignore that message that his Uncle Ben gives him in the car before he doesn't go to the library. But he realises that he can't. He realises that Uncle Ben's right and that this power that he's been given, he needs to do the right thing with that. And even when the Goblin tries to strip that belief away from him, he spits in his face and, you know, no, I am going to do the right thing with these powers. Come at me, bro.
What?
As I say, it's not groundbreaking storytelling or anything like that. It's a simple origin story done well. And what Ross said earlier on as well, the grit in the fight scenes in this film is sorely lacking, I think, in modern superhero films. Like, as you say, is it the graveyard, would we call it? Like, kind of, it looks like a graveyard. Like, the end fight scene is, I said it when you were talking about it, it's visceral. It's like you can feel every punch, every hit. It's like Peter is getting the life kicked out of him in that scene, but doesn't give up.
Yeah.
Doesn't give up. Again, Willem Dafoe, just the perfect. You wouldn't think that those two together, Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe, would create magic, but they do. They do. They've somehow got this incredible chemistry together, the two of them. And it's, again, Willem Dafoe knocked himself into some shape for this film. You talk about like superhero transformations and things like that, which this is kind of the OG of that as well. Talk about physique inflation as well over the years. It's funny you watch it now and it's, yeah, I mean, Tobey Maguire again got himself into great shape for that film as well, but it just, again, took off from there. But yeah, they both just clash so well in that film. I don't really have all that much else to say about it. I just think it's simple storytelling done extremely well. Very faithful. It feels like a comic book movie. It feels like a comic book come to life. And yeah, I don't think you could pay it much higher praise than that, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's my favourite Spider-Man movie.
That's fair. So I feel like my t-shirt's a bit of a spoiler for my number one here, but number one for me is going to be No Way Home. To me, the cinema experience of this one was just out of this world. Because I remember I went to see it with a few of my friends from work, and when the portal scene happened, we were actually like shaking each other. We were all like absolutely freaking out on that one. Seeing my Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, make his return, something I never thought I'd see after the 14-year wait between Spider-Man 3 and then. And the biggest positive there, I would say, is that Tobey and Andrew actually feel like support characters. They don't feel like they're just there for the sake of it. And I feel like, you give that great, finale to Tom Holland's trilogy, a great little like epilogue for Tobey and closure for Andrew. I feel like it ticks all the boxes in that regard. Within the first 10 minutes, you get a cameo from Daredevil, who's one of my absolute favourite superheroes of all time as well. So great to see him in there. And again, sets the stage for a brand new day and all that. Is a perfect kind of end cap to this trilogy, and then a great kind of springboard for the foreseeable future for Tom Holland. So
I do really love the last scene of No Way Home. I think that is really good, really well done. Yeah,
and the whole thing with the "we are happy to service you" on the coffee cup. It's like, I see what you're doing. Yeah. So yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely my favourite cinema experience probably of any film I've ever seen.
That's the thing. Even though it was so low on my list, as a cinema experience, it was unparalleled. I've never experienced anything like it in a cinema. It was fantastic in that regard for me.
Yeah, perfect. Right, my number one as well is also the original Spider-Man from 2002, and I love this film. It is, and I don't usually say as much about films. It is perfect. There's nothing I would change about it. Start to finish, it is flawless. It is just, like Anthony said, it is the blueprint for the superhero origin story. Like, this is it. Like, this film walked so Iron Man and the rest of the MCU could run. If this film failed, forget about all the rest of those films, What can I really say about this film? It's gorgeous to look at. Willem Dafoe is intense as hell in this film. Like I said, I wish the Lizard had a bit more kind of like back and forth. You're not sure how he is. That's exactly what Norman Osborn and the Goblin is in this film. You're never quite sure what you're getting. Like there's just little moments in this film. Like see the moment where he meets Mary Jane when he's with Aunt May and Harry. And he just eyes up Mary Jane. It's so sinister and unsettling.
It makes you feel icky.
It does make you feel icky. And then he goes out in the lift and talks to Harry about her like loudly, and it's like, oh god, this is horrendous.
Do you know what I think it is? I think we've all not like that, but we've all been in a situation like that when you're like, I want the ground to swallow me up. And it's like he makes you feel that.
Yeah, like he revels in that.
Yeah.
But there's certain parts of this film that are like just quiet moments, like when he says to Harry that he's not been there for him, he's not been a good father to him, like moments like that are like chilling because you're like, is that Norman talking to him? Like you don't know, and it's really quite chilling, you know. Like you say, the final fight is spectacular. He's getting absolutely destroyed, and Peter, when he realizes who he is, like it's quite a bit of a like he doesn't know who he is right to the last minute of this film. I mean, I knows it's not like a anger; it's like a hurt thing. It's like wow, like you know, that's someone that I cared about. And then he tries to use it against them as well. And
that's the Sam Raimiism there with
that's
very Evil Dead.
Very Evil Dead. Yeah, you see a lot of kind of Evil Dead kind of bits in this. Like none more so than probably in Spider-Man 2 with
Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting operated on.
And having Bruce Campbell in all three as well.
Having Bruce Campbell,
that's a nice little nod. And Ted Raimi as well.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen him as Mysterio in the fourth film, but you know,
was that the plan?
I think that was
originally.
That was a plan. Yeah,
that's a shame.
What was taken from us?
Yeah.
So yeah, my list will change day to day, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 will probably always be my bottom pick, and Spider-Man from 2002 will probably always be my top pick. But never say never, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm happy to see where the films go in future and add those to the list as well.
It's rare that this happens, but I think I'm actually quite close at the top. The Spider-Man 2 and the first Spider-Man, I was very I didn't know which one to put ahead.
Yeah, my top three are all very close, I would say.
Same for me. Yeah, the first two I was very much like, definitively I put No Way Home as my favourite, but 1 and 2, that was where I struggled the most in my rankings. So.
But I would say for other rankings we've done, I would say all these rankings, the divide isn't astronomical from top to bottom. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't like that film, but I don't absolutely hate it, you know? It's like okay. It doesn't go from like the worst thing ever to like the best thing ever. It goes from like okay to amazing, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the word for it.
Yeah, definitely. Just a little word on the Spider-Verse series of movies. We just wanted to cover the live-action Spider-Man movies today, just because, to be honest, they're the ones that we've spent the most time with. I think just given what age we are, the animated Spider-Verse movies were coming out once we were adults, and you know, even if they are incredibly well made, I don't know if you resonate with something quite as much. There's a very specific age that you need to be when certain films happen in your life, and I think we were just the right age for the Tobey and Andrew films coming out, and then we were already invested in the MCU, even though we were getting into our 20s and things like that when that was happening. Whereas the Spider-Verse films, there's this slight degree of separation once you're into your mid to late 20s when these films are coming out. They'll just, no matter how well made they are, they'll probably just never hit quite the same as these original films did. I think they're both very, very well made, the two animated films. I think I would put the first one over the second. I remember the second one feeling overly long. I remember being in the cinema and in the final act of the film and thinking, is this film nearly finished yet? I want to go get dinner. Even though it was so good and it is visually stunning, the first film I was arrested to the screen from start to finish. I think it's a very, very, very good movie.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me as well. Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse I would say is probably my favourite of the two of them. They're both absolutely fantastic and very much looking forward to Beyond the Spider-Verse. Whenever that may be, it's probably going to come out at the same time as Mahershala Ali's Blade. You know?
Yeah. The hypothetical movie.
Yeah, and for me, I'm the outlier. I've only seen Into the Spider-Verse. I've not seen Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I still need to watch that movie. I really enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse, but it does definitely feel like its own kind of thing. It does definitely feel like a separate entity to these live-action movies. Yeah, very, very enjoyable, very well made, and it showed that this format can work as feature-long films. But yeah, I really don't have much to say about it. Miles Morales' character is an interesting character. I like, you know, Peter B. Parker as well.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely shows you, like, you kind of wonder sometimes, like, oh, you know, how would Peter end up, you know, further down the line if he's been doing this for decades? And you know,
There's
this
that,
was
and
our
there's
first
the,
kind of
like,
looking at that.
How long can Peter Parker be driven down at the ground before it does really start to
Yeah.
hurt him and affect him?
Yeah, it's like I can see that, like, you know, Spider-Man starting to get a wee gut and then starting to be like, I'll go a wee bit. I'm sure the police have got it this time, you know.
The scene where he's like, "Oh, I handled the separation from Mary Jane like a champ," and then it cuts to him sitting in the bath crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it says a lot about, you know, where his character might end up in general, just Peter Parker, where he might end up when it gets a bit further down the line.
Oh, and I'm very much looking forward to the Spider Noir series. I'm very interested to see where that goes. With Nicolas Cage.
I'll watch anything
as
Nicolas Cage
Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where that goes. I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's a list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us how wrong we are, please.
Yep. I think it's a bit more interesting when we all have kind of different takes.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to be an echo chamber here saying the same thing. Sometimes you'll have a bit of a correlation, you know, if a film's really bad, it's really bad. If a film's really good, it's really good, usually. But, what?
Nothing. Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, guys.
Thanks for
Go
watching.
watch Spider-Man.
Absolutely. See you soon.